Have you ever felt the electricity of a packed arena surge with hope, only to watch it vanish in a heartbeat? Imagine over 17,000 Flyers fans chanting as their young Swedish goaltender defies physics, sliding post to post in a blur of orange and black to rob an opposing forward of a sure goal. Then, in the span of one tragic night, that roar falls silent. No more standing ovations, no more last-second heroics. Just a city struggling to comprehend the unthinkable. That goalkeeper was Pelle Lindbergh. In the mid-1980s, he seemed destined for a Hall of Fame career, a fearless competitor who combined razor-sharp reflexes with the poise of a seasoned veteran. But behind the glossy magazine covers and the nightly highlight reels lay a series of fateful choices that ended in a crash so sudden it shook the hockey world to its core. This is the story of a rising star whose light was extinguished far too soon, a narrative of promise and heartbreak, camaraderie and devastation, all bound together in the name of a man who once stood invincible between the pipes. Pelle Lindbergh was born in Stockholm, Sweden, on May 24, 1959. Growing up in a hockey-loving nation, he gravitated toward the position of goaltender, inspired by legendary Swedish keepers. Even in his early teens, coaches recognized something special in the wiry kid with lightning-quick reflexes. He read the puck's trajectory as if he had a sixth sense, sliding effortlessly from post to post with a kind of ballet-like grace. But Pelle wasn't just about raw athleticism. He poured himself into every facet of the game, studying angles, memorizing opponents' tendencies, and fine-tuning his positioning. By the time he joined the Swedish national junior team, it was clear he was on a meteoric rise. Scouts from North America soon took notice, and in 1979, the Philadelphia Flyers selected him in the NHL entry draft. It was a bold move. Few European goalies had cracked an NHL roster in those days. Yet, the Flyers saw in Lindbergh the perfect marriage of skill and ice-cool Swedish composure. When Pelle Lindbergh finally crossed the Atlantic to join the Flyers, he stepped into a hockey culture renowned for its grit and toughness. Philadelphia still carried the echoes of the Broad Street Bullies era, an intimidating style that demanded as much physical endurance as it did finesse. At first glance, the slender, baby-faced Lindbergh looked more like a college kid than a bruising NHL netminder. But the moment he took his position in the crease, any doubts melted away. Night after night, he showcased a fearless brand of goaltending. In the days when equipment was bulkier and pucks whistled past your ear at unnerving speeds, Pelle's agility and reflexes stood out. He had a knack for making impossible saves look routine, diving glove stops, sprawling pad saves, you name it. Within a few seasons, he became the team's starting goaltender, carving out a legacy that drew comparisons to the best in the league. By the 1984-85 season, Lindbergh was more than just the Flyers' backbone. He was a league-wide sensation. His sparkling goals against average and near-superhuman performances propelled Philadelphia to the top of the standings. Media outlets across North America began mentioning him alongside names like Grant Fuhr and Billy Smith, elite netminders who were perennial contenders for the Stanley Cup. That year, Lindbergh earned the Vezina Trophy, awarded to the NHL's best goaltender. It was a milestone not just for Pelle personally, but for Swedish hockey as well. He became the first European-born goalie to claim that honor, dispelling doubts about whether European netminders could handle the rough-and-tumble North American style. In a city starved for a Stanley Cup since the mid-1970s, Lindbergh revived the hope that perhaps another parade down Broad Street was just around the corner. Success, however, came with a price. Lindbergh found himself thrust into the limelight, a hero to fans who pinned their championship aspirations on his every glove save. Autograph seekers swarmed him outside the Spectrum. Journalists peppered him with questions about the Flyers' postseason chances. And in the swirl of that adoration, he wrestled with the same challenges many young athletes face: the sudden wealth and the constant spotlight. He was known for his love of high-performance cars, particularly Porsche sports cars. Teammates would joke that Pelle's adrenaline rush behind the wheel almost matched the thrill he seemed to get while making a breakaway save. Some worried it was a dangerous outlet for stress, but Lindbergh brushed off concerns. Like many athletes, he felt invincible, physically fit, at the pinnacle of his career, and able to handle anything life threw at him. On November 10th, 1985, everything changed. The Flyers had played a game earlier, and afterward, several players decided to unwind. Lindbergh joined them, feeling the buzz of a crowd still chanting his name. Reports vary on the specifics, how much he had to drink, what time he left the gathering, but the end result was tragically clear. In the early hours of the morning, Lindbergh's Porsche 930 turbo slammed into a concrete wall in Somerdale, New Jersey. Rescuers arrived at the scene to find the car mangled beyond recognition. Lindbergh was still inside, gravely injured, unconscious, and with little hope for recovery. Word spread quickly among teammates, coaches, and fans. The man who had stopped countless breakaways was in a fight for his life, pinned against circumstances no goalie mask could protect against. Rushed to the hospital, Pelle was placed on life support, but the medical prognosis was grim. The once bright-eyed, quick-reflexed athlete was declared brain dead. In a matter of hours, the dream of a Stanley Cup run, fueled by Lindbergh's heroics, dissolved into a collective heartbreak. By November 11th, after consultations with his family, who had flown in from Sweden, doctors removed him from life support. At just 26 years old, the Flyers superstar was gone. News of Lindbergh's death rattled the hockey community. Fans gathered outside the Spectrum, some lighting candles, others leaving flowers or handwritten notes. Local sports radio stations were flooded with tearful tributes. The Flyers organization, known for its tight-knit culture, was blindsided. Many of Pelle's teammates struggled with guilt, questioning if they should have stopped him from driving that night or insisted he slow down his off-ice pursuits. National media outlets covered the tragedy extensively. Hockey had lost a goaltender who many believed was on the cusp of rewriting the record books. More than that, a young man with an infectious smile and a humble demeanor had been taken far too soon. The debate over alcohol-impaired driving roared back into the public discourse. Some fans were angry, blaming the environment that allowed pro athletes to party without restraint. Others took a more sympathetic stance, seeing Lindbergh's death as a heartbreaking reminder that no amount of talent or fame can nullify the consequences of a single bad decision. The Flyers soldiered on that season, dedicating their efforts to their fallen teammate. Yet the gaping hole between the pipes seemed larger than just a roster spot. Players spoke openly about the emotional drain of losing a brother in arms. Coaches grappled with how to keep morale high while acknowledging the shadow that Lindbergh's death cast over the locker room. Despite the abrupt end to his life, Pelle Lindbergh's influence on hockey didn't vanish. Ask any goaltender who came of age in the 80s or 90s, and they'll likely cite Lindbergh as part of the wave of European netminders who proved they could excel in the physically intense NHL. He was living proof that grace and technical skill could hold their own against North American grit. Younger Swedish goalies like Tommy Salo and later Henrik Lundqvist would inherit that sense of possibility, knowing a path had been blazed before them. Moreover, Lindbergh's tragedy forced the Flyers and the broader sports community to confront issues of athlete well-being outside the rink. Teams began placing greater emphasis on guiding players about responsible drinking and decision-making. While the lessons weren't immediate or all-encompassing, the seeds of improved player support systems and counseling services started to take root. In Philadelphia, Lindbergh's memory is kept alive in countless ways. His number 31 was never officially retired, but you'll rarely see it worn by another Flyer, an unspoken homage to the Swedish phenom. Fans still share stories of that electric night he'd stonewall the Edmonton Oilers' high-octane offense, or how he made an acrobatic save that defied explanation. In a city that loves its sports icons, his name endures as a bittersweet reminder of both promise and peril. Pelle Lindbergh's story resonates beyond hockey because it underscores how fleeting life can be, even at the pinnacle of success. He encapsulates the duality we see in so many professional athletes, the triumphant face that graces highlight reels and the hidden vulnerabilities lurking off camera. For every breathtaking save that made fans leap out of their seats, there was the private reality of youth, temptation, and the pitfalls of sudden fame. If anything, Lindbergh's accident stands as a somber lesson about the fragility of human life, and how one moment of misjudgment can unravel a future brimming with potential. The hockey world has experienced other tragedies since, from on-ice injuries to untimely deaths, but Lindbergh's remains one of the most jarring because he was quite literally on top of the world. an unstoppable force in goal. Much like other sports figures who passed away at the height of their powers, think Len Bias in basketball or Jose Fernandez in baseball, Pelle Lindbergh's death leaves behind a trail of unanswered what-ifs. What additional milestones might he have reached? How would his presence have shaped the Flyers' fortunes throughout the late 80s? Could he have become Sweden's greatest ever goaltender, surpassing even the legends that succeeded him? So, we pose the question to you. Is Pelle Lindbergh's story one of hockey's most tragic losses? Or does it serve as a galvanizing symbol, a reminder that even legends in the making are not invincible? Let us know your thoughts.